Where are all the gentlemen? We need gentlemen today, now more than ever. Gentlewomen and gentlemen. It was Edmund Burke who made the statement that all that is needed for evil to prevail in the world is for enough good people to do nothing. And as we look at the state of affairs throughout the U.S. and in the world, you could say that evil might be prevailing. What makes a gentleman? Well, if you look at the word gentleman, 2/3 of the word gentleman is made up of gentle, and so a man should be as well. Gentleness comes out of strength. Unless you have strength on the inside, you will not have gentleness on the outside. There's an old saying among the military that ability breeds humility. The more capable and confident we are, the more humble and the more gentle we are as well. So again, we see strength and character displayed in gentleness. There are 3 components to truly make a gentleman. And when I say gentleman, again, this applies for men or women because the character traits really aren't based on sex. It's based on your values, your beliefs, and what you do. So I'm going to present to you 3 components, 3 characteristics that make up what it is to be a gentleman. And these are like the 3 legs, say, of a 3-legged stool. They need to all be there. If even one of them is missing, well, that person's character is not going to stand, just like that stool is not going to stand on 1 or 2 legs. Those 3 components are a code of conduct, maturity, and a purpose bigger than ourselves. Okay, let's look at each one of those individually. The first one is that code of conduct. And the proper code of conduct was given to us by Jesus well over 2,000 years ago on a sermon on a mountainside where he gave us the golden rule, which is to treat others as you would have them treat you. He said, in this, all the laws of the prophets are fulfilled. And what a great code of conduct, to treat others as they would treat us. If all our government officials and leaders in business did this, then we would not have the scams and the things that we see happening today that are usually very often self-serving and manipulative. Again, we have deals being made behind closed doors that are very self-serving and not looking to treat others as they themselves really want to be treated. That second component is maturity. And it's maturity that enables us to live that first one, that golden rule. Again, the golden rule to be able to treat others as you would have them treat you is a sign of maturity. We're only able to do that to our level of maturity. If you want to know how mature somebody is, our maturity is measured by our ability to put the needs of others above our own. If you look at a child, they're immature because, again, it's me, me, me. They need to grow. They need to be taught. This is why mothers and fathers spend time with their toddlers teaching them to share toys, to not pull hair, and to think of the needs of others. But if we want maturity to truly grow in us, then we need that third component, and that's a purpose bigger than ourselves. Having a purpose is what causes maturity to grow. And if you think about it, without a purpose, there's no need for the maturity. We live purpose-driven lives. Everything we do is based on a purpose. But is that purpose something big, something bigger than ourselves? When Rick Warren wrote the book, The Purpose-Driven Life, he really hit the nail on the head. That book was on the New York Times bestseller list almost longer than any other book in history. It spent 90 weeks on there. And it was about, again, having a purpose bigger than ourselves. If we look at our decisions, how they're made in the short term, we're kind of ruled by feelings, impulses, and emotions. If you want a candy bar, you grab the candy bar. If you want a beer, you drink the beer. If you want to take a nap, you take the nap. We need control over feelings, impulses, and emotions. And what gives us control is that sense of purpose, something bigger than ourselves. Long-range thinking. If we think long-term, then we use reason and logic. And that can overcome the temptations for those feelings, impulses, and emotions. So you get someone who's thinking for a long-term goal, then all of a sudden they have willpower, they have discipline. They can stand up against those feelings, impulses, and emotions. One of the examples that I often use for this is running a marathon. When you talk about someone running 26.2 miles, that's quite an endeavor to undertake, and it's going to take several hours to run the marathon and several weeks of actual training. And there are oftentimes a runner doesn't want to go out and do that training. But the excitement of that goal, they think of when they cross that finish line, especially for their first marathon, it's a feeling of accomplishment that they will draw on for the rest of their life. It is truly an amazing feeling. This is what our purpose does. It pulls us forward. It gives us energy. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he talks about once your basic needs are met, food, water, shelter, clothing, then we must be what we can be in order to be happy. So if you know that you've got the capability in you, the desire to be a writer, an artist, an architect, you must pursue that or you're going to be unhappy. You've got to be what you can be. Okay, so let's look at those again as the three legs of that three-legged stool. We've got to have a code of conduct. And again, that's the golden rule, to treat others as you would have them treat you. We've got to have maturity or we can't live that golden rule because we'll be thinking about me, me, me. And the way all this happens is by having a purpose bigger than ourselves. Okay, if we remove any of those components, say we have a purpose, and it's to become the head of a company or to do this or do that, without maturity or without that code of conduct, then it's going to be a very self-serving purpose, one that will probably harm others. When we have purpose without maturity, again, it tends to harm community. That's when the opposite components of that code of conduct show up. We become manipulative, self-serving, pretentious. And these are the things that destroy civilizations, that destroys community. We survive by looking out for one another. We do better as a group than we do by ourselves. And we need to look out for those individuals that we're working with that are not mature. Like the old parable of the scorpion and the frog. There's a scorpion that walks up to a frog and goes, can I ride on your back to cross the pond? And the frog tells him, no, you're going to sting me. And the scorpion goes, no, why would I sting you? If we get out in the water, I can't swim. I sting you, you die, then I'll drown. And the frog goes, okay, that makes sense. So he lets the scorpion climb on his back, gets about halfway across the pond, and the scorpion stings him. And the frog looks over and goes, why did you do that? Now I'm going to die and you're going to die. And the scorpion looked at him and goes, yeah, I know, but I couldn't help it. I'm a scorpion. So we shouldn't be surprised when we see people that have self-serving purposes act for their best interests over our own. This is the opposite of what we want to see in a leader. And it's definitely the opposite of what a gentleman would be. So a gentleman has a code of conduct. They have something they're aspiring to that is a purpose, serving a purpose that is bigger than themselves. We all can be self-serving. We need that compass that comes from having a purpose bigger than ourselves. This, provides needs for others, developing maturity, which comes out of that. And I'll give you an example for the maturity. If you want to see that in action, look at a child, maybe someone in junior high that, really doesn't care much about their grades and isn't very disciplined until they develop a love for a sport, say football or basketball. Then all of a sudden, they're watching what they're eating, they're training hard, they maybe have to get better grades to stay on the team. So that purpose gives them discipline. Same thing for, say, a student who decides I want to be an architect, a doctor. Now all of a sudden, their maturity is going to grow exponentially because they need it to achieve their goal. So they knuckle down, they study more, their habits all improve tremendously. Again, we often need a purpose before maturity is going to happen. Again, you might have a student who is a poor student, but they fall in love and they realize that after school they have to get a good job and they want to be able to provide for their mate. So again, they knuckle down and become much more disciplined. That desire to be able to care for someone else produces maturity. Once again, we have to have all three of those components. We need the code of conduct, which is the golden rule, treat others as you would have them treat you. Then we need a sense of purpose to develop maturity within us. And that purpose has to be bigger than ourselves. It has to be something that is scoped out there that gives us long-term thinking to where we can have control over our feelings, impulses, and emotions. Hopefully this made sense to you. We desperately need more gentlewomen and gentlemen out there. Again, if we want control over the evil that is reigning in the world, we need more heroes. We need more gentlemen. We need more gentlewomen. Lolly Daskell said that unless you have a purpose that's bigger than yourself, you will most likely end up serving only yourself. Truer words have never been spoken. For more on this subject, check out my book, Where Are All the Gentlemen? Where Are the Heroes? And hopefully this gave you some food for thought. Please share this video. I'd love to hear your comments. Thanks for your time.